Hey, I'm Kevin Hodes with Swypit, and of course this is the Swypit Show on the Success Network. And we are in beautiful Hollywood, California at the Roosevelt Hotel, and we have a very special guest with us. The man, the myth, the legend. He is a mentor, he is a teacher, he has all the answers for you. He is an unbelievable author, and you may recognize his books, and you may not remember his name, but he has over 500 million books all over the world in over 47 languages. And it is the unbelievable man, my co-author of Soul of Success, Volume 2, Mr. Jack Canfield.
Hey, Kevin. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, no, this is always a great time when we can get people like you to get the message out to the world, how things can be really good for them if they just want to put and apply themselves. I've been around successful people. I like to have successful people. I like to have people in my core group to help clients of mine when we need, something. Somebody might call me and say, I need a plumber. Well, I know a plumber. If I need a guru for this, I need a guru for this. Well, I have that. And in this case here, I say, hey, you know what? You need help, maybe some sort of self-help. Maybe you should pick up one of Jack's books. It's called Chicken Soup for the Soul. And you never know what you might find in there. But while you were creating and putting all that together, you have a tremendous amount of people in a lot of these books. How did you actually come up with the realization of who is going to actually be in the books?
Well, over years, I was a speaker, and I would find stories, because I realized stories are what really move people. And I would find a story by somebody, and I'd cut it out of a magazine, or I'd hear Tony Robbins say it on stage, or whatever. And I went, oh, that's a great story. And then once someone said, those stories you tell in your talks, are they in a book anywhere? My daughter needs to read that. My sales team needs to hear that. I want to use those in church or whatever. And I went, no. And one day I'm coming back on a plane and I go, like the universe says, put those stories in a book. So I started making a list of all the stories I knew. And I had about 70. And then I met Mark Victor Hansen for breakfast one day. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm writing this book. He said, well, you should do it with me. I said, why? He said, you only have 70 stories. You have 101. That's a spiritual number. And he said, I've got 30 great stories you probably don't have. So that's how we collaborated. And they were just stories that worked. And then from then on, we did the second helping, the third serving, then Chicken Soup for the Sports Fan Soul. We started reaching out to people that we knew were authors or stories, people we knew had stories. And we'd usually get 140 stories. We'd narrow it down to 100, and that's how it happened.
It's just amazing. Why didn't somebody else think of that? It took so long for somebody to realize that there was something that would be really marketable. And it only took, 145 times, right, before somebody actually said, hey, we want to do that.
I know. We got rejected by 144 publishers. They said people don't read short stories, and it's too nicey nice, they're too positive, they're not realistic. But the 145th person got it. And we said, how many copies do you think we'll sell? He said 20,000. We said, we want to do 1.5 million in a year and a half. He had literally laughed out loud. And he said, you guys are crazy. We said, no, we're visionaries, we're entrepreneurs, and we're good at what we do.
Yeah, and obviously when they realized what they had, they even put an article out in the newspaper thanking the other publishers for saying no.
That's right, I remember that, yeah.
It's insane what in business, people don't realize that some people come up with other ideas, and they come up with these ideas so that they can not be the same as others. And you, for sure, are not like others.
Well, the thing is, I tell everyone, look, every idea comes in a vortex of energy, kind of like, these hurricanes that roll through your state of Texas. So what happens is it comes through and then it's gone. And while it's there, it's 145 miles an hour. And the same thing is true with the creative idea. It's not just your idea, it's coming from the universe. And if you don't act on it immediately, it kind of passes. And then someone else will act on it. And then you lose out.
Yes, no, very true, very true. When I met my wife, and we got married and we really didn't have a lot of money, I saw this ad in the paper. It said, make 6 figures. And I called this guy out in Dallas and he said, come on down and we're gonna put you in a room, we'll teach you what you have to do. I wound up being one of their top salespeople in that company. But when I was asking her, I literally remember the moment when I was asking her, hey, what do you think of this? And I was literally transitioning from being a chef, and I worked on private yachts, to literally going into the world of sales. And there was this pivotal moment. I remember standing on this couch that I think we paid $300 for. We could barely afford the rent, and I was getting ready to go to Dallas and start this new thing. Well, now it was a pivotal moment for me when she said, well, you can go and do it. And I said, well, if it doesn't work out, and since we were living in Colorado, I was like, well, I'll just apply for a job at the Broadmoor. So she said, all right, go. And it worked out well. But in your life, did you have a pivotal moment, something like that, that it just sticks in your head? And, you know, obviously my wife is very important to me. So that moment in time does resonate with me. What resonates with you?
I think the biggest one was when I was living in Massachusetts. I had a 12-acre piece of property. I had a retreat center on it. We bordered 1,200 acres of forest. So I had 1,200 acres, just walk onto it. It was mine on this mountain. And I was making a couple $100,000 a year. And something said, you're supposed to work with larger groups. Because, you know, there were like 16, 20 people for a weekend. And I literally packed up everything, got a U-Haul, put my car behind it. My wife and I drove to California because that's where all the people who were doing the work I wanted to do was. And I ended up taking a job with a training company where I was making $38,000 a year instead of $200,000 on my own company. But I knew I had to do it. And it worked out. I got really good at running large groups. I've run groups. When I was in India, I ran a group for 3,000 people for 3 days, all speaking Tamil. I had to work with a translator. But there's an art to doing that, and I learned it. And it's really what catapulted me. And then I discovered that the company I was working for was kind of turning into a cult. It had a spiritual leader at the top, which was not really a clean guy. And so I had to leave that and start up my own company, you know, with a $10,000 loan from my mother-in-law. And that turned into the Canfield Training Group. Now we have like 12 employees and do workshops all over the world. I have 1,700 trainers that are trained to do my work. You know, it's amazing.
I mean, just the amount of things that come from an idea and how it trickles down and how it affects others that you're employing, you know, all coming from, okay,
right,
we've got to do something bigger. Right. And that's fantastic. I love this kind of stuff. You know, if I could get around more people like you more often, that would be fantastic. You know, it's hard to find a mentor, right?
Yes.
So people will turn around and say, oh, I have a mentor. Oh, you're my mentor. They use it very loosely. But if you were trying to express somebody and explain to them how important it was to find a mentor, how would you teach them how to do that? What would be the best way?
Well, number one, I would say you should have a mentor. My mentor was W. Clement Stone. He was worth $600 million when I was, you know, making $8,000 a year as a teacher in Chicago. And I took a workshop with him, and that changed my life. And I quit my job as a teacher and went to work for his foundation. And that was great. How to find a mentor is to find somebody who's already done what you want to do and to reach out to them and say, here's what I tell people. Could I get 10 minutes of your time once a month? Most people will do that. First of all, you say, here's why I want you to be my mentor. You've achieved something I want to achieve. I admire you, and I won't take up a lot of your time. Could I just have 10 minutes of your time a month and ask you some questions? And invariably, if you do it what they say, and that's do what the mentor tells you, and tell them what you did and appreciate it, then all of a sudden you're spending an hour with them. They say, come shadow me for a day, you know, whatever. And all of a sudden it grows. But I think most mentors get scared. They think you're going to like overwhelm them. If you just ask for 10 minutes and tell them why, most people say yes.
Yeah, I can really, really agree with that. I have people that contact me and they want, you know, they see the books and they see the things that we're doing and they'll say, hey, you know, can you talk to my son? And I say, well, I'm going to be over here. Come and meet me. I'll definitely, you know, talk to him for a few minutes. But I think they do sometimes overpower you and they want to hold on to you and take up a lot of your time. So you got to be careful of those.
Well, one of my favorite stories was the guy he wanted to work with, the #1 top insurance salesman. He wanted to get mentored by him. He said, next time you travel, I imagine you travel first class. If I buy a first class ticket next to you, can I sit next to you from wherever you're going to wherever you're going? The guy said, yeah. And so it was a New York to LA trip, 5 hours, and the guy said it changed my life.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's lots of creative ways to get a mentor.
Ooh, I might remember that one. I'll buy a first class ticket. There we go. Where are you going next? I'm going to buy a first class ticket wherever you go.
Oh, here you go. I'll tell you. Right off the top of my head, I can't answer the question, but I'd love to have you as a seatmate. That'd be fun.
No, that would be very interesting. You know, I have to tell you, it's really an honor to be able to be here with you today. I, you know, do a lot with veterans, and of course, I make these challenge coins. And these challenge coins that I make are really special. We've been making them for many years. There's a big military appreciation night that I do every year in Dallas, and we'll have 3,000 to 5,000 people at the events. I'll speak at halftime. But more importantly, I always like to make these coins, and I have a special coin for you.
Oh, thank you.
And usually in a challenge coin. This one happens to be a double spinner, but usually we handshake and give it to him. But of course, this is yours, and I really apologize for not having the opportunity to give you a few years ago when we did the Hollywood live show. But of course, this is something near and dear to my heart, is to help veterans. And actually, you know, when you see them in the airport, people go up and say, hey, thank you so much for your service. But I really wanted to make more of an impact every time. You never know how it might affect them in what they do in their life and how they might look and see people that do say thank you to them. So of course, it was so important for me today to say thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. This is really special. This is really cool. I love this. I have one other challenge coin. It was given to me by the pilot of Air Force One. This will go right next to it on my desk.
Well,
So thank you very
so
much. I appreciate this.
Yeah, no,
Special.
it's totally awesome. You know, we have to thank you, Jack, for being here today. Of course, this is the Swypit Show on the Success Network. This is the wonderful Emmy Award-winning group of people that do these crazy things for me all the time, and I love them dearly. But of course, if you want to get a hold of me, you can go to swypit.com. If you want to watch more of things on the Success Network, you can go to Success Network, and or of course, look for the Swypit Show. And of course, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you, all that you've done for everybody all over the world. And I am Kevin Hodes. Thank you so much, and remember to do what you want, when you want.